I think if you boiled down pure political desperation and encapsulated it in a singular social media post, it would look a lot like this one posted by the Liberal Party of Canada on their official X account. It was quite literally made on just the Notes app of someone's iPhone. I guess they thought that this was really clever, so an intern spun this up on the Notes app and then took a screenshot of it and posted it. And it reads in scratched out text first, far right American, and then it continues reading as like the real title, Pure Polye's Priorities, and then it lists deny climate change. And I'm going to take these one by one because they're just so dumb. What do you mean deny climate change? You got to actually define your terms. Disagreeing with the carbon tax is not denying climate change. And just like pointing it out because it just bears repeating, the carbon tax doesn't do anything to reduce emissions. There is a reason why Stephen Guilbeault, the environment minister, and the Liberal government do not even track whether or not the carbon tax has had any effect on climate emissions, because it doesn't. They just know it doesn't. And if they actually studied whether it does or not, they would just be shown to be complete frauds. But anyways, moving on to the second point. Then it says, cut services to cut taxes for the wealthy. What services have the Conservatives decide they're going to cut? Which services? The budget in Canada, the federal government budget, has gone up from $269 billion in 2015, Harper's last year's prime minister, all the way up to now, which is about $449 billion, and it's probably going to go even higher once they actually roll out the official budget for the 2024 fiscal year. I don't know what they think that the Conservatives are going to have to cut to balance the budget. That's deeply important. There is so much administration in HR that can be cut in order to actually give tax cuts to all Canadians. I don't know where they've decided that Poilievre's only going to cut taxes for like the top 1%. His entire narrative has been cutting taxes for everyone, which cutting the carbon tax would also do. Okay, third point, it says gut the middle class. What middle class? I'm pretty sure Justin Trudeau's already done a good enough job gutting the middle class. I don't think I even have to say anything more on that one. And then the fourth point is weaken gun control. The Liberals in Bill C5 have lowered the sentences, or I think actually eliminated mandatory minimum sentences for carrying around an illegal handgun. If you have an illegal handgun, not like a law-abiding citizen that the Liberals are trying to attack for like owning weapons and using them responsibly, they have lowered the mandatory minimum if you are a gangbanger carrying around a handgun in your waistband. If you get caught, you don't actually have to go to prison anymore. So who's actually weakening gun control here? The law-abiding gun owners are not a threat of violence to anybody, and pretending that they are is just cowardice and not wanting to deal with the real violent threat, which is gangs in urban and rural areas. Okay. Completely annoying, but that's what the Liberals have basically fallen down to. They're just posting notes pages basically saying the Conservatives suck, they're far right. Guys, level with me here. It didn't work before Durham. You got destroyed by Jamil Giovanni, the Conservative candidate in that riding. Yes, it's been a Conservative riding since 2004, but the Conservatives did way better than they even normally do, and the Liberals lost votes, the vote share since they last ran in that riding. It's horrible for them, and they threw everything they had at that riding. You guys are not going to be able to try and recover your polling numbers by running the same play after the Durham by-election. If anything, most voters just look at you and think, well, they're out of ideas, and your own base is probably not going to show up because they just detect that you also think that you're going to lose. But now I just want to cut over to a video of Justin Trudeau now marketing this new Pharmacare plan that he came up with himself and Jagmeet Singh. It's complete trash. It's going to cost taxpayers billions of dollars to effectively not deliver any benefits to anybody. But there's a certain element of this I just find hilarious, the way he talks about the plan.
Far too many people are having to make choices between putting groceries on the table or paying rent or paying for their medication.
Well, the only medications that the current Pharmacare plan covers are diabetes medication, which you could say that some people have trouble paying for, and contraceptives. Well, that's just a weird narrative to me. Like, families are having to choose whether or not to put food on the table or condoms. Like, no, they're not. And that's actually never been a choice. I know there's other forms of contraception, obviously, but that's never been a choice for reasonable people, whether they buy eggs and butter or they buy, like, I don't know, they buy, like, the pill and, like, condoms. That's never been a choice. And with diabetes, too, that's usually something that afflicts older Canadians. It's not really that something that many 15-year-olds, 24-year-olds have. Yeah, there are some, but this is usually people who can afford to pay for their medication that now the taxpayer is subsidizing. And most people already had insurance plans that covered these pharmaceuticals. Yes, we have public insurance for, medical emergencies and other sort of necessary things you need from hospitals, but pharmaceuticals you would have to buy insurance for, and like very few Canadians were not covered for that. And these are not exactly like crisis things that you need to cover. Yes, some people benefit from a Pharmacare plan, but that's every program. Every program benefits somebody. And if we passed a program that we passed every single program that would benefit somebody, we would effectively have no money left in people's wallets because we'd be too busy paying for things that might be helpful. It's a foolish plan.
And when they miss medication, not only does it lead to much worse health outcomes for them and quality of life issues, but it ends up costing our medical system much more in serious consequences. So
how does this not justify just cutting taxes in general? The carbon tax, income taxes, payroll tax, gutting corporate taxes so that companies can hire more people at higher wages. Why not? But he's never going to think of that because he likes the power that taxing people more comes with.
So moving forward on Pharmacare, contraceptives and diabetes medications just makes sense in terms of not just being there for Canadians.
Oh yeah, who cares about real arguments, guys? It just makes sense. It just makes sense. I remember in my dad's day when people didn't have to worry about putting a big old box of condoms on the table for their family.
And making sure they have all the opportunities to succeed and have great fulfilled lives, but also countering the affordability challenges that we know Canadians are facing right across the country.
Goodness, imagine having to be one of those women that he forced to stand behind him to do this announcement as if you're like really into this very pathetic plan. Well, Jagmeet Singh got absolutely nothing out of this Pharmacare plan. He's going around pretending like, I did it. I got our Pharmacare plan for our progressive labor base. It's like, you got nothing. Diabetes medication and contraceptives, who cares? And again, we're probably going to be paying way more in taxes in order to pay for this stuff that not many people needed. And remember, whenever there's a Pharmacare plan or a universal dental plan, or like our medical system already is, a public insurance program, what it does is it chases away supply. Because what the government's doing in order to secure better deals for the Canadian public, it's not just bulk buying that's reducing the cost. It's that they are trying to mandate that pharmaceutical companies pay or sell these items to the government for less than they would have normally sold them on the free market. So you're going to have a lot of people who produce diabetes like medication, insulin, all this type of stuff. They're just not going to produce as much for Canada because there's no money in it. And there's nothing wrong with wanting money and providing a service that people want, because if you had no incentive to do it, nobody would ever do it. Just look at socialist countries. They're not exactly known for their robust supply of food, medicine, and other sorts of services. But anyways, that should be it for me today, guys. Just want to quickly plug that I, Wyatt Claypool, am running for the Calgary Signal Hill Conservative Party nomination. If you live in Calgary Signal Hill, the boundaries on screen are what the new boundaries are going to look like after April. If you generally live around this area, buy a membership. Check out my website in the description below, wyattclaypool.com, or recommend me to anyone you know who lives in the riding. I guarantee if you live in Alberta, you at least know one household in the area, and recommendations are gold for me. And anyways, other than that, you can also donate to the Give, Send, Go legal fundraiser that I and the National Telegraph are running, because we have this ridiculous billionaire developer suing us for defamation. What did we defame him by saying? Nothing. He's just suing us because our guest writer who mentioned him in our article about him and others donating to Aaron O'Toole's leadership campaign based all of the information off of this guy on a long Globe and Mail investigation about him. The only thing we said that was new about him was the fact that he was maxing out donations to O'Toole, which we had evidence for, and everything else was evidenced by what the Globe and Mail had said, who had reported this a year and a half ago, and evidently he never sued them for it, but he's suing us because, now he's deeply wounded about us just mentioning the Globe and Mail reporting. Annoying, but we'll survive. It's cost us $26,000 to fight this legal case, so any money you can contribute to the legal fund does help us keep us afloat and allows us to invest in more important things than just throwing money at this legal bill. Anyways, have a good one, guys.